It has come as a shocking surprise that one of the most iconic automobile manufacturers in Germany, Volkswagen, is confronted with a crisis that is likely to change the European automotive landscape forever. The shutdown of factories, strained economic performance, and rising competition from EV producers, especially in China, have created the perfect storm that could dismantle the cornerstone of Germany's automotive industry and the wider European market. We unpack in this episode Volkswagen's current problems, the greater economic forces acting on it, and what this means for the workers, communities, and future of the European car industry. A couple of years ago, one would not have even conceived of a suggestion or debate that there was any possibility of Volkswagen's shutting down its factories in Germany. Volkswagen has traditionally been considered a very specific example of outstanding German engineering skills, closely interlinking with the notion of craftsmanship in people's minds all over the world. Moreover, such corporations are typically linked to economic stability, a fact that is easily explicable by a substantial number of workforce members. Thus, about 295,000 active workers are presently involved in the performance of their work duties within the country alone, whereas this number is sufficient to position VW as one of the leading car manufacturers. However, recently, VW announced its intentions, which may well result in the closure of several plants located within Germany. This announcement has been made amidst considerable financial troubles, which the organization tries to overcome by taking certain saving measures, which are estimated at 10 billion euros or about $11.1 billion if converted into American money. This surprising and somewhat alarming revelation comes at a time when the company has sunk deep into the complex structure that makes German industry tick. It could also point to a more profound problem that might well confront not only Volkswagen as an isolated case, but also raise serious difficulties for the whole of the German economic system. The CEO of Volkswagen, Oliver Blume, has been very candid and forthcoming with his views about the business climate in which the company competes. He openly has shown that the growing costs of doing business, coupled with the development and entrance of new competitors within the market, are having a widely pressing effect on the company as a whole. As he recently was quoted to say, has gotten even tougher than in today's economic environment. Secondly, he added that new players are pushing into Europe, which qualifies as quite an understatement in light of the increasingly worsening situation that Volkswagen faces in this competitive landscape. After all, it is important to bear in mind that this is not just a crisis about Volkswagen. Rather, it truly reflects significant changes going on in recent times within the entire world automotive industry. The troubles and challenges faced by Volkswagen are a clear indication of the wider struggles faced by traditional car manufacturers on the global stage. This is, to a great degree, because of the amazingly rapid rise of electric vehicle makers, especially from China, which is reshaping the entire automotive landscape. Companies like BYD have not only dominated the Chinese market, but also made strong inroads into many European markets. All this amounts to compelling long-established legacy car manufacturers like Volkswagen to rethink their strategic approaches in view of this rapidly changing environment. Deliveries in China, considered Volkswagen's most important and relevant market, decreased by 7% in the first half of 2024. In the same period, the operating profit of the group decreased by 11.4%, which represents a revenue of 10.1 billion, approximately $1.2 billion in value. What is more worrying with these decreases is that they are not minor blips on the screen. Rather, they are serious warning signs that the markets are moving faster than what an organization the size and standing of Volkswagen can successfully track or adjust to. Luckily, efficient pricing, innovative technology, and growingly ambitious portfolios of models push the EV firms of China into Europe at a time when competition will generally be squeezing the traditional car makers. The struggles of Volkswagen thus become a sure signifier of the more general as well as more pervasive crisis that is at this juncture engulfing Germany's manufacturing sector, a predicament that has unfortunately been in recession since the beginning of 2022. The situation had been worsened by the loss of affordable energy supplies from Russia in the aftermath of the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Coupled with this, there has also been a dramatic decline in demand originating from China, factors that together have rendered it singularly difficult for the manufacturing base of Germany to recover and regain its erstwhile strength and stability. This fact is further supported and complemented by the evidence provided by the so-called PMI, which is an abbreviation for the German Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index. The index in question is indeed a very important barometer that consistently measures and gauges the general state of affairs and performance of the manufacturing sector in Germany. The PMI has continuously stayed below the critical threshold level of 50 for over 2 years now, a state of affairs that unmistakably indicates a contraction within this important economic sector. However, an even more ominous and disheartening sign has appeared lately, as the PMI has drooped to an alarming 5-month low of 42.4. This latest figure certainly proves and attests to a deepening and worsening economic recession that seriously affects the manufacturing sector. Dr. Cyrus de la Rubia, the chief economist of Hamburg Commercial Bank, has noted that the recession facing Germany's manufacturing sector has lasted much longer than many analysts had initially thought. Meanwhile, there is no real end or solution to this difficult situation in sight at present time. The challenges and difficulties being confronted in Volkswagen cannot therefore be considered an isolated incident or a one-time crisis. Rather, it is indicative of a much larger and more pervasive economic crisis that is currently affecting Germany's entire industrial sector. Should Volkswagen decide to close plants, the repercussions that will result from such a decision can potentially shake and destabilize the very foundations upon which the country's economy is built. Nevertheless, it is expected that labor unions, with IG Metall in the lead, will pose the most serious opposition, since that union is probably one of the most powerful and most efficient labor organizations in Germany. It is believed to be the most serious situation for the management of Volkswagen. The union seems to be preparing considerable opposition, which promises almost a plant closure or even the possibility of abandoning the job protection agreement that has been in place since 1994. The preparation testifies that the union is preparing a very strong and determined reaction. Thorsten Groger, who leads the negotiations for IG Metall, became the first to publicly criticize and disavow such plans. He expressed that, in his opinion, such proposals on Volkswagen's part are no less than irresponsible and threaten to dismantle the very foundations upon which the company is based. The union is of the opinion that the trains of thought running inside management's minds are not only myopic, but also dangerous for the stability and security of the workforce as a whole. The supervisory board of Volkswagen, in consultation with delegates from the labor sector, will have the binding authority to decide whether these planned shutdowns actually take place. This sets up the scenario for what may shape into a dramatically intense confrontation between the management's urgent need to cut costs on one hand, and on the other hand, the union's unrelenting resolve to safeguard and protect the jobs. In case the Volkswagen company finally decides to shut down these plants, it will negatively affect not only the employed workers, but also will have further destructive effects on the surrounding communities. In many towns, so many people depend on the plant as their only source of work. And when word gets out that a certain plant will shut down its operations, it gives strong tremors to the economy of an entire town. Additionally, other businesses in those areas will certainly be negatively affected as well, because the steady flow of customers and wage earners brought forth by workers of the plant will suddenly stop flowing into these localities. With a rich history of 87 years of production, Volkswagen has not only situated itself in Germany, but also has come to be equated with the maintenance and perpetuation of both economic and social stability for many regional economies across the area. Economies that are now being cast into a future that is increasingly clouded and precarious. Moreover, as there are deliberations on the possible breaking of the long-standing agreement that has guaranteed job security to the workforce for decades, the feeling of uncertainty and insecurity deepens in the minds of these enthusiastic workers, enthralling their apprehension about what the future holds. But it has emerged that Volkswagen is willing to enter into dialogue with representatives of its workers to explore other avenues for easing the severe financial pressures without resorting to drastic measures, let alone closure. For its part, however, the company has conceded that time is short and the financial situation has become extremely tense. The financial consequence of such dire situations in which Volkswagen finds itself is not solely a business affair. It also has grave, long-reaching political implications that could affect many sectors. Furthermore, one should not be oblivious to the fact that Volkswagen is by no means the only company of considerable size and standing currently reassessing its future within Germany. To that effect, consider the fact that Intel has been said to be considering abandoning its aggressive investment plans for 33 billion euros in a factory located in Magdeburg. This would have gone a long way in boosting the economy of the region, and to that effect, the entire national economy. In fact, German companies invested a record $15.7 billion in capital projects placed within the United States in the past year, a sharp rise compared to the previous year's total of $5.9 billion in 2022. This strong increase in investment illustrates a growing trend of businesses looking beyond their borders in pursuit of better economic prospects, contributing to the country's deepening economic woes. This particular case has the potential to politically manipulate the growing sentiment of discontent in the populace, particularly in light of the fact that far-right parties such as Alternative for Germany have recently enjoyed a significant boost in the number of seats obtained through the recent elections. The AfD's emergence is a surefire indication that citizens are becoming increasingly disgruntled over what they perceive as stagnation within their economies. And it certainly does not help when the Volkswagen crisis essentially compounds these feelings of discontent by adding insult to injury in what is already an unsettling situation. The future for Volkswagen continues to be cloudy and foggy. With the dynamics in the automotive industry continuing to change, pressure on the group to change and adjust their strategies remains intense and significant. While this is the case, conventional methods and traditional avenues that they have relied upon perhaps will not be enough to keep them competitive in the ever-challenging market landscape. The only way Volkswagen will survive and prosper is by quickly accelerating its switch to electric mobility, and not content to just catch up, to seek out new technologies actively that will allow it to stay ahead of the curve in an environment that's constantly changing. In fact, Tesla Motors already has a lead in the electric car market, while other companies like BYD Company Limited are rapidly closing the gap and thereby competing intensely. It is an excellent opportunity that cannot be missed or wasted by Volkswagens, especially if it wants to play a relevant and influential role in the future of the automotive industry. Innovation will no doubt be the rule in the future. In order to attain success, it is important that new and strategic partnerships be formed to facilitate cooperation and synergy. Furthermore, investment in research and development functions will become imperative, as these will provide the necessary impetus towards progress. Besides all this, it will also become imperative to find ways of improving the workflow process in all departments and functions within the company for efficiency. It is by no means an easy task to cut costs while at the same time trying to maintain quality standards and competitiveness, but it is something Volkswagen has to do if it wants to remain viable and continue to prosper in a competitive market. While the shutdowns of Volkswagen factories could be more than a corporate decision or judgment, they also symbolize an epoch-making moment that significantly impacts the industrial landscape of automobile manufacturing throughout Europe. The multitude of challenges presently confronting Volkswagen serves as a microcosm to describe the broader economic and industrial struggles that are taking place not only within Germany, but reverberate across the whole of the European continent. Considered together, the rise of electric cars, a shifting geopolitical landscape, and the economic strains of the past several years are all driving conditions that make it increasingly complex and difficult for traditional car manufacturers. In the coming months and years, how Volkswagen reacts may determine not only its future, but also that of the German economy and the place of Europe within the global car industry. The future is darkly opaque, replete with unknowns and variables that can change everything in the blink of an eye. But one thing stands out in graphic relief. Volkswagen must change now and urgently if it is not to be left behind by an automotive world moving at a pace and in a manner unseen before. This is not just a corporate fight. For laborers and communities, economies in totality, a whole lot is at stake, with possible effects to ripple across livelihoods and futures.